Team Rocket, the first villains. Team Rocket debuted in Generation 1's Red, Blue, and Yellow, and established the template for villainous organizations in Pokémon. Unlike later groups that tied their motives to legendary Pokémon or global-scale ambitions, Rocket's purpose was straightforward: commit crimes, steal Pokémon, and amass wealth. This grounded depiction of organized crime helped introduce the idea of human antagonists in a world otherwise centered on Pokémon battles. Grunts were the most common members you encountered. Their design was intentionally simple: plain black uniforms with caps, boots, and the iconic red R across their chest. The red R became a universal emblem for villainy in Pokémon, easily recognizable even to casual fans. Their look evokes old-fashioned cartoon criminals. You could imagine them carrying sacks of stolen goods. This visual shorthand made them easy to identify as enemies, especially in the relatively straightforward storytelling of the first games. While some considered their appearance goofy, that lightheartedness was fitting for Pokémon's early tone, balancing menace with accessibility for younger players. In Pokémon Yellow, and later in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, special grunts appear in the form of Jessie and James. Originating from the anime, they wear white uniforms with the same R symbol, but stand out due to their flamboyant personalities and unique hairstyles. Jessie's crimson hair and crop top, alongside James' periwinkle hair and fitted outfit, added flair to the basic grunt design. Their inclusion bridged the anime and games, cementing their place as iconic characters in the Pokémon franchise. By the time of Generation 2, Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Team Rocket returned, but their hierarchy expanded. Instead of only anonymous grunts, the games hinted at higher-ranking members. This was fully realized in Heart Gold and Soul Silver with the introduction of the Rocket executives: Archer, Ariana, Proton, and Petrel. These characters gave the team structure and individuality. Archer and Ariana wore white uniforms, symbolizing prestige and echoing Jessie and James's designs, while their diamond chest insignias and turtlenecks conveyed elegance. Proton, with his beret and gold-trimmed black uniform, resembled an elite grunt, presenting himself as confident and combat-ready. Petrel specialized in disguises, with makeup tools at his belt, emphasizing deception and infiltration. The executives ensured that even without Giovanni's direct presence in Johto, Team Rocket still had recognizable leadership. At the top of the organization stands Giovanni, the first-name villain in Pokémon. His design and role clearly frame him as a mafia boss, suave, intimidating, and cunning. As the Viridian City gym leader, Giovanni represents the corruption of power from within the Pokémon League itself. His dual role illustrates how deep Rocket's influence runs. They aren't just criminals on the fringes, but have ties to the core systems of Kanto society. His goals were never ideological. Unlike later villains, Giovanni did not seek to remake the world. He simply wanted profit, control, and expansion of Rocket's influence. This simplicity reflects the early stage of Pokémon storytelling, but also grounds Giovanni in realism. Many real-world dangerous people are motivated not by philosophy, but by greed and power. Giovanni's design has evolved over the years, but the core concept remains. His Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon appearance as the leader of Team Rainbow Rocket shows him older, commanding villains from across alternate dimensions. Here, the classic red R is replaced with a rainbow design, symbolizing the merging of multiple villainous teams. Despite the grander stage, Giovanni's ambitions remain unchanged. He still seeks personal power. His consistency emphasizes his character: unyielding, selfish, and pragmatic. An alternate event sprite in Generation 4 shows Giovanni in a trench coat and fedora, resembling a retired mafia boss. This rare depiction adds depth to his character, imagining him older, less exposed, but still dangerous. It visually reinforces Giovanni as the archetype of organized crime in Pokémon. Team Rocket's enduring presence across generations 1, 2, 4, 7, and even in spin-offs like Pokémon Go highlights their cultural weight. They were never the most fantastical villains, but their simplicity and mafia-inspired identity made them timeless. By setting the blueprint, grunts, admins, and a powerful boss, Team Rocket became the foundation every later evil team would build upon. Team Magma and Team Aqua, the third-generation villains. Generation 3 introduced two villainous teams instead of one, each representing opposing ideologies tied to legendary Pokémon. Both factions sought to reshape the natural world of Hoenn, reflecting real-world environmental debates in Japan during the early 2000s. Team Magma aimed to expand the landmass, believing this would benefit humanity by creating more space for cities, industry, and development. Their uniforms reflected this ideology, with a red and black color scheme directly inspired by Groudon, the legendary Pokémon they sought to awaken. Their horned hoods visually echoed Groudon's spikes, and at the same time gave them a cult-like appearance. This made them feel less like criminals and more like fanatical followers of a destructive ideology. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, their designs were refined, with textured reds, darker tones, and practical shorts for female grunts instead of skirts. The redesigns modernized their appearance while keeping their cult-like identity intact. Team Aqua served as Magma's counterpart, aiming to expand the oceans by awakening Kyogre. They envisioned a world where water, the largest Pokémon habitat, would dominate, allowing Pokémon to thrive. Their designs leaned heavily into a pirate and sailor aesthetic, with striped shirts, headbands, and seafaring motifs. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, their redesigns amplified this pirate look. Grunts appeared more rugged, darker skinned to reflect seafaring life in the sun, and carried a casual, rebellious vibe. This contrasted sharply with Magma's orderly, cult-like visuals, underscoring their ideological divide. Each team had two named admins, Courtney and Tabitha for Team Magma. Their Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire redesigns gave them striking individuality. Courtney wore an X-shaped vest and yellow horns, while Tabitha was depicted as larger in body type, breaking the uniform mold of identical grunts. Matt and Shelly for Team Aqua. Matt was redesigned as towering and muscular, his wetsuit torn to reveal his chest, while Shelly wore a distinctive two-piece wetsuit with stylish details. These unique body types and outfits made the admins stand out as real characters, rather than slightly altered grunts. At the top were Maxie of Team Magma and Archie of Team Aqua. Their conflict defined Hoenn's narrative. Maxie originally had a simple, almost bland design, black and red formal wear with glasses. But in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, his redesign elevated him. His trench coat, glasses embedded with a keystone, and stern demeanor emphasized his role as a calculating bureaucratic leader. His ideology mirrored the mindset of expansion and corporate control, reshaping land for human benefit. Archie, by contrast, embodied the reckless pirate archetype. In the original Ruby and Sapphire, his nearly all-black outfit felt underwhelming. But in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Archie received a bold redesign. Anchor chain necklace with a keystone, wetsuit, and rugged beard. His expression and posture reinforced his role as a passionate, aggressive leader who truly believed in his mission to expand the seas. Narratively, their conflict is rooted in clashing worldviews, land expansion for humanity versus ocean expansion for Pokémon, while simplified for the games. This tension reflected ongoing land development and environmental debates in Japan at the time. By tying villainy to ideology rather than crime, Generation 3 elevated Pokemon's narrative complexity. Team Galactic, the fourth generation villains. Team Galactic appeared in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum as the main antagonists of the Sinnoh region. They represented a dramatic shift in scale for Pokemon villains. While Team Rocket wanted profit and Magma and Aqua sought environmental change, Galactic's ambitions extended to the fabric of reality itself. Their leader, Cyrus, didn't just want power. He wanted to erase and rebuild the world according to his own vision. Grunts wore matching silver-gray uniforms with teal accents, rounded helmets, and stiff collars. Their designs resembled cartoon astronauts or sci-fi space explorers, underscoring the galactic theme. The look was intentionally awkward. Grunts had bowl-like haircuts and bulky suits, making them appear foolish rather than threatening. This was fitting. Galactic grunts weren't independent criminals, but faceless drones carrying out Cyrus's ideology. They were anonymous pieces of his grand design. Commanders provided individuality and hierarchy above the grunts. Mars was the most recognizable, with her bright red hair. Her skirted design and youthful appearance gave her an idol-like look, which contrasted oddly with her violent loyalty to Cyrus. Jupiter had a more striking design, long purple hairs and asymmetrical stockings, with one leg covered and one bare. The imbalance made her visually unsettling, reinforcing the strangeness of Galactic's style. Saturn had teal hair, echoing the grunts, which made him blend in more. However, his role as one of Cyrus's most loyal officers made up for the lack of visual distinction. Sharon, introduced in Pokemon Platinum, stood apart from the others. He was older, stockier, and wore a lab coat, glasses, and light pink hair. Sharon was a scientist archetype, representing corruption of Pokemon research. His presence made Galactic more than just fanatical soldiers. They also exploited science for destructive ends. These commanders ensured that Galactic wasn't faceless. Each had unique traits, hair colors, and personalities, giving the group a cast of recognizable lieutenants who embodied loyalty to Cyrus's cause. Cyrus, the leader of Team Galactic, was one of the most radical figures in Pokémon history. His uniform was a refined version of the grunts design, with a gray coat and black highlights, but his character defined him far more than his appearance. Cyrus was cold, detached, and emotionally hollow. He believed emotions were the root of all suffering. Anger caused conflict, love led to loss, ambition bred cruelty. His solution was to eradicate emotions entirely by creating a new world, free of feeling, using the powers of Dialga and Palkia. In Pokémon Platinum, his plan escalated further. Instead of just controlling Dialga or Palkia, he attempted to harness the power of Giratina and the Distortion World. This made his goal even more abstract and terrifying. He wasn't content with controlling gods of time and space, but sought to overwrite reality itself. Cyrus's lack of flamboyant design was intentional. His bland, almost bureaucratic appearance reflected his philosophy. He wasn't a theatrical villain like Ghetsis or flamboyant like Lysandra. He had erased individuality, embodying his own ideology of detachment. Thematic escalation. Galactic marked a milestone in Pokémon storytelling. In only 4 generations, the narrative evolved from battling a mafia, Team Rocket, to preventing the recreation of the universe itself. This leap tied Pokémon's world more closely to mythology and cosmic stakes, showing that villains could be more than grounded criminals. They could embody philosophical extremes, historical connections. In Pokémon Legends, Arceus, set centuries before Diamond and Pearl, the Galaxy Expedition team appears in the Hisui region. Unlike Team Galactic, this group was benevolent, composed of settlers and researchers aiming to coexist with Pokémon. Their mission was exploration and harmony. The irony is striking. Cyrus would later inherit their name and twist it into something destructive. This contrast added depth to Galactic's legacy. What began as a group building bridges between humans and Pokémon became a cult-like organization tearing reality apart. Symbolism. Galactic's uniforms, names, and designs all connected to astronomy and cosmic imagery. Commanders were named after planets. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Their leader Cyrus evoked the Persian king who built empires, and their logo resembled a swirling galaxy. Everything about their design reinforced the idea that their goals were larger than life, beyond human scale, almost divine in scope. By the end of Generation 4, Team Galactic redefined what it meant to be a Pokémon villainous team. They weren't motivated by money, territory, or prestige. They were motivated by ideology. Cyrus's quest to erase emotion made him one of the coldest villains in the franchise, and his army of uniformed followers reflected that vision of uniformity and detachment. Team Plasma, the 5th generation villains. Generation 5 introduced Team Plasma, one of the most complex and morally layered villain groups in Pokémon. Unlike Team Rocket's greed or Team Galactic's cosmic ambitions, Plasma presented themselves as a liberation movement. Their stated goal was to free Pokémon from human ownership, framing themselves not as criminals, but as moral crusaders. Grunts wore outfits resembling medieval knights. Their helmets and tabards gave them the look of soldiers sworn to a cause, which perfectly matched their rhetoric of justice and liberation. This design choice was deliberate. Knights are traditionally associated with honor, protection, and righteousness. By dressing their grunts this way, Plasma reinforced the illusion that they were defenders of Pokémon rather than exploiters. Above the grunts were the mysterious Shadow Triad, a trio of silent ninja-like enforcers. Their black uniforms contrasted sharply with the knight imagery, emphasizing their secretive role as personal bodyguards to Plasma's leadership. According to lore, their unwavering loyalty stemmed from Ghetsis saving their lives. Unlike other admin-level characters in past teams, the Shadow Triad were less about personality and more about intimidation, faceless extensions of Ghetsis' control. Plasma's organization also included the 7 Sages, elder figures who embodied the group's intellectual backbone. Most had limited roles, but they projected an image of wisdom and authority. The most important of them was Ghetsis, the true power behind Team Plasma. Outwardly, Plasma's king was N, Ghetsis' adoptive son, who genuinely believed in the group's mission of Pokémon liberation. N's sincerity made him sympathetic, but Ghetsis had manipulated him from the beginning. Ghetsis' design and role. In the first games, Black and White, Ghetsis wore an elaborate, asymmetrical cloak decorated with eye motifs, resembling castle ramparts. His design reinforced Plasma's medieval theme while signaling his role as a scheming mastermind. Though he presented himself as a sage, his true plan was self-serving. If humans released their Pokémon, he alone, through N and control of Reshiram or Zekrom, would command power. In Black 2 and White 2, Plasma split into two factions. The members loyal to N abandoned villainy and focused on helping others, keeping their original knight uniforms. But the members loyal to Ghetsis became more openly malicious. Their new design ditched the knight look for darker, militaristic uniforms resembling terrorists, with stitched X motifs and heavy coats. This visual change signaled their abandonment of noble pretenses. They no longer pretended to be liberators, only conquerors. Zinsolin, one of the 7 sages who remained with Ghetsis, embodied this transformation. His heavy coat and stitched hat emphasized coldness, fitting since Plasma weaponized Kyurem to freeze parts of Unova. Ghetsis himself adopted a darker outfit, abandoning royal flair for a streamlined, black angular design. His new look was openly sinister, making him one of the most visibly evil characters in the franchise. Ghetsis is often regarded as Pokemon's most irredeemable villain. Unlike Cyrus or Lysandre, who acted on warped ideologies, Ghetsis never truly believed in Plasma's cause. He manipulated his adoptive son, used lies to control his followers, and openly abused N once he no longer served his purpose. His cruelty extended even further in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, where during the Rainbow Rocket arcs, he directly threatens a child, Lily, something no other villain had dared. Plasma also included Colress, a scientist whose interests aligned with the group, but whose motivations were distinct. Colress was fascinated by unlocking Pokemon's true potential and saw Plasma as a vehicle for his research. His futuristic lab coat and tech-inspired design set him apart from Plasma's medieval aesthetic, visually positioning him as a scientist out of place. Ultimately, Colress had no loyalty to Plasma or Ghetsis. Once the player proved greater strength, he yielded. Later appearances, including Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, expanded his role as a morally ambiguous researcher rather than a true villain. Finally, Anthea and Concordia, N's adoptive sisters, played minor but symbolic roles. Their angelic designs and gentle natures contrasted with Plasma's authoritarian leaders. They cared for N, hinting that parts of Plasma were not inherently evil, but deeply fractured between genuine idealism and exploitation. Team Plasma's story across Black 2, and White 2 made them one of the most narratively ambitious villain teams. They started as supposed heroes, cloaked in the imagery of knights and sages, only to fracture into extremists under Ghetsis' iron grip. The contrast between N's sincerity and Ghetsis' cruelty cemented Plasma as a turning point in Pokemon storytelling, showing that villainy could emerge not only from grand ambitions, but also from manipulation, corruption, and abuse.